any challenges either on the field, off the field for you?
I suppose starting off playing wise on the field again, same as Mon, it's been injuries. For me, when I picked up the uni that I went to in Cardiff, had the best women's team in Wales, arguably nationally at the level that you play at for unis, and they'd gone over to like Champions League in Portugal and stuff. And I remember going to trial for that, getting through, but then getting through the first trial round, and then picked up a back injury, and I just wasn't where I wanted to be playing wise and getting to that team. So that was a bit of a setback. And it's just kind of keeping the motivation after you've been injured to get back into it.
Yeah.
Especially when I lost out a whole season, so trying to get back to where I was pretty tough. So I think in terms of that, the step back of it with injuries is hard to get back in. Off the field, I particularly remember when I was about 15, 16, 17, the kind of years where I should have been really, really excelling and pushing myself. I think you kind of find more of a social life that your friends are doing this and that, and football suddenly became quite like a bit like, oh, why are you playing that? And I just kind of did sacrifice some of my training to be more with my friends and doing stuff. It's the same in uni. So I suppose that kind of thing is reflected in research as well. I know for the girls game, that's the biggest dropout rate is those years. So I think that's a major challenge and a hurdle of it's turning around now where women's football is becoming a big thing to play, and it's being respected and there's professionalism around it now. But my generation growing up, it was a bit like, well, why sort of playing that? It was kind of frowned upon by some people. You should be playing this sport or that sport, or that's what girls play, not football. So that was a big challenge. And for myself with my coaching, I started coaching from 12 years old. I used to help out my brother's mate. Used to play for Aston Villa, and his business partner was a Liverpool coach. So they started up a soccer school that I used to help coaching at, and that's kind of where I found a love for coaching. And again, even now, there's so little female coaches around. I find even with working with Football Star Academy, they're really supportive of it. But again, there's few coaches that are there, and female coaches, so it's a big respect, I suppose, for them, and that'll help the women's game come along as well. The more coaches we get into it, the more professionalism's around it again. And it's I suppose there is always that challenge. It is quite a male dominated sport. No,
it definitely is. So moving on to Tara. So same question. Any challenges and hurdles you faced?
Just unmuting myself. So I guess the same as everyone, I've had a couple of injuries to overcome, and that's always a stressful part of soccer. As I said in the warm-up, I injured my ankle when I was in Cairns, and that needed surgery and a fair bit of physio and rehab, and that was a very frustrating time, even just at a social level. But I guess I'll talk about a couple of other perspectives as a parent. So probably the biggest hurdle towards continuing to play soccer is having kids along the way. Because obviously there's a long period of time when you can't do contact sport or any sort of sport at that level as well. So I've got 3 kids, and so each time I've needed to take some time off soccer, and coming back from pregnancy to soccer is a pretty challenging pathway. So you've got sort of the physical recovery that you need to make in order to start running and being fit and have contact sports again, but then it becomes a time management thing as well. So you need, when Lily was 4 months old, I think I started playing footy again, and she'd come along to training with me all the time. She becomes a bit of a mascot, a lot of my teams. But there's often training with the kids sitting on your shoulders or something like that. And it's all good fun, but you need an environment where that's going to be supported. And And I think you can hear a lot of the ex-Matildas talking about their issues with pregnancy and having kids and trying to do professional sport, and that's pretty enlightening. And going forward, hopefully that'll be easier and easier for women trying to play sport at a higher level.
Yeah.
But then I've obviously had another couple of kids along the way. And each time you're getting older as well, and the recoveries get a bit tougher, but it's, you need sort of the motivation and the support to be able to do that. So they're probably the biggest challenges, those little people. But also trying to balance a career in playing sport that's a challenge as well, probably for, anybody playing sport where it's not their profession. That's a difficult thing. So I've had big exams along the way. I do a lot of shift work. I do a lot of on-call and trying to coordinate all of that and continuing to play sport. A lot of people tend to drop out of team sports fairly early in these sorts of careers as well. So that's been a challenge, and certainly playing at lower level teams, it's been easy to miss trainings and miss games and things along the way. So that's going to be. So I had a big talk with sort of my husband before committing to Galaxy in terms of having to commit to the trainings and games a little bit more than I have over the last probably 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was going well.
It was going well. All right, we should be back on the park shortly, or at some point this year, hopefully. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Yeah. Emily, I just wanted to come back to what you were saying about the stigma when you were playing back home. I just wanted to touch on that a little bit. Has that changed, or is that still there to an extent?
Massively changed now. Massively changed, which is nice to see. I mean, I went home at this Christmas just gone, and like I said to you before, there's a big divide between North Wales and South Wales in terms of funding, and a lot of the female tournaments and stuff, we'd always have to travel. So yeah, it's now North Wales have been provided with girls' academies and girls' pathways, female coaching pathways. We've had a big centre of excellence built in my village as well, and there's a lot more support around it. I think when we played in our girls' league, I think there was 6 teams. And now there's like 3-4 leagues full of teams. So I think participation rate has been really good. Things like coverage for the World Cup. I know that they were putting on the games for the qualifiers. So obviously you had Wales, England, Scotland, Northern Ireland, all those were, being publicised. There was games on in all the pubs as much as there was with, EPL teams and things like that. So just even moves like that are crazy good. And things like, I know Manchester United as being one of the biggest teams in the world, only just started a women's team a few seasons ago. So I feel like the professionalism overseas back home has changed incredibly. And it's gone quite quickly, considering I'm only just going to be turning 25 on Wednesday. So from me growing up from, like when I was about 12, 13, so now there's been a massive difference. And you can also see that living here as well, with the Matildas having such a good run out in the World Cups as well. And, you're seeing posters of Sam Kerr around, and it's, just little changes like that are really, really nice to see. And it's good that the professionalism's coming to the sport too.
So has there been any challenges or hurdles that you've overcome so far in your playing career? Starting off with you, Mon.
I think injury is probably the biggest one for me. Sort of chronic shin splints, good fun for pretty much my entire career. It kind of gets to a point where I don't know what it's like not to have them. So in a way, that's good. I just play on. But yeah, I think injury is probably the biggest one. And getting older as well the last few years, you tend to find that you've just got to take it a bit slower with fitness and pre-season, and don't push it as hard, because it'll take you a step back, 1 step forward, 2 steps back sort of thing. So I think that's probably been the biggest thing. The next biggest challenge is probably in Geelong, finding clubs and coaches that are sort of really competitive and will take the sport seriously, especially for women. So Geelong's certainly harder to, I suppose, get that development compared to a place like Melbourne and certainly overseas. So that's
Yeah.
probably the second challenge.